at some points I'm like, is this a snuff film? Right? Why is this movie? I think it was the critic Steffens quoted saying this is a film, one of the 100 films you need to watch. So why did you pick this movie?
I always feel like I have to choose for you a serial killer movie that's gonna make you upset.
Why? Because them, that's why.
Well, this episode just got 66.6% hotter because Chris is on vacation and I got two amazing guests. We're talking movies. We're talking 1998's Sombre, starring Mark Barbet and Elaine Lewinchon, directed by Philip Grandiau. Hey, everybody, and welcome to this episode of How'd You Like That Movie? Like I said in the intro, Chris is in Italy, but it worked out better because I got two awesome guests with me, Heidi Morales and Justine Smith. Guys, how's it going?
I'm well. Nice to see you both.
Yeah, I'm also doing well. Nice to see you guys.
All right, you guys know how this works. I can never say it. That's why Chris always says it. So it's, how do we say it? Shameless self-promotion time. Guys, what have you been up to? Whoever wants to go first.
I'll let Justine go.
Same old. I mean, I write criticism for Cult Montreal. I do that basically on a weekly basis. I also right now am on the committee for the upcoming Montreal Critics Week, which is taking place in January. So we're in the midst of programming our selection at the moment. And I think that's it. Yeah.
Um,
Heidi?
Thanks, Scott, and nice to hear you're also busy, Justine. So I'm Heidi Morales. I publish a website called Heidi's Musings. I write about film quite a bit. I promote theater as well in Toronto, but right now I'm also in the middle of working with colleagues from Letting the Snow Film Festival to lock down our lineup of films for this festival in November.
And you just finished TIFF, right?
Yes, and I'm still recouping from
I
that.
was gonna say it's like huge. Anything on TIFF that you really enjoyed?
From TIFF?
Yeah.
Um, yeah, I think I have a favorite from the Midnight Madness program called The Furious. Stay tuned. I'll have an interview with the filmmaker. It's a very martial arts action-packed film. And I will send a shout out to the Brazilian film, The Secret Agent, which is submitted to the Oscars lineup. That's also another fave.
Okay.
Yeah.
So
The
Justine.
Secret Agent is like best of the year for me with one battle after another. It's so good. I can't wait to see it again.
Yeah.
Okay, now I feel left out. Like I don't even know what this movie is. Like, what's the
So look
secret
them
agent?
up. I don't know, Justine. I feel like maybe The Secret Agent will come out at some point because of hopefully the Oscar run.
Yeah, I was told it for sure is going to come out of Montreal, I believe in December. I think it's such a crowd pleaser too. Even though it's a bit long, I think it's like just under 3 hours. It's again like one battle after another. For people who are gonna go see it, I think it's gonna have a great word of mouth just because it's so smart and fun and engaging. Like the 3 hours just flies by. It's a great movie.
Yes, I would say the same.
Who's in it?
I
Anybody I know?
forget his name, but he was in Narcos.
Yeah, Wagner Mora.
Thank you, Wagner Mora.
I was gonna be like Pedro Pascal.
Well, no, but they were in the same series. Somebody actually online called him the Brazilian Pedro Pascal. So I could maybe see the appeal.
Okay. So Justine, I need to ask you a question. So you picked this movie. Is it Sombra?
Yeah, you got
Okay.
it.
Okay. let me tell you, I found this hard to watch. And not like it was bad. I was just like, at some points, I'm like, is this a snuff film? Right? Why is this movie? I think it was the critic Steffens quoted saying this is a film, one of the 100 films you need to watch. So why did you pick this movie?
I always feel like I have to choose for you a serial killer movie that's gonna make you upset.
Why? Because them, that's why.
I don't know. I haven't seen it in a while, and I was kind of using the show as an excuse to rewatch it. I actually still think it's fantastic. I love though like the French exterminating movement. I'm really interested in movies that use like cinema itself as a way of channeling perception. To me, this is like a very like corporeal body cinema in a way that's like very abstract. It is like very upsetting, like no, don't get me wrong, but I do think that there's something like very truthful and terrible and beautiful about the movie that I find very appealing.
So Heidi, first thoughts?
Um, I'm not averse to these types of films. I've spent plenty of time in a cinematheque in the dark with lots of noises and interesting visuals. So, I can see why it's uncomfortable. I think it's purposeful. That's how I kind of took it. Definitely not an easy, it's also like not a watch, right? Because it's almost like you're experiencing a lot of this stuff. So I kind of just let it play and I kind of just sat with my feelings or whatever I was thinking through the film. I don't know that I'm the audience that needs to see it now, but I did like the way that technically speaking they went around with the visuals and the a lot of darkness, which makes sense for the name of the film and the sounds.
Yeah, I found like I'm gonna pronounce the name wrong. But the director Philippe Grandot, is that close?
Yeah, it's pretty close, yeah.
Okay, close, but nowhere near it. You're, but yeah, like I found that's what I'm saying. Like at some points, I thought this was kind of like a snuff film because it seemed very voyeuristic, right? Because you're always behind people for most of the time, and just just kind of being the fly on the wall and watching like the serial killer do his thing, kind of thing. But I did like the technical aspect. I did like some of these transitions, like the one scene where they're just driving in the car and then it's like the grass and then the grass kind of just transitions into the hair blowing into the wind. Like I was like, fuck, that's good. That's good cinema right there. But yeah, like I did find it like I'm gonna be Chris here. I found it a little long. I did think once he put her in that car with that other lady, I thought that would have been like the perfect ending. And then when it went, and then you're hearing like this other lady's story and then everything like that, I'm like, man, they just did not want to leave you on a good note, right? Like you have to be sour. But am I right? Am I wrong?
I mean, I think you're right. I think it's like a movie that has to be kind of understood in its context too of France in that period. It's not actually that unlike America at that time. It's the 90s. There's so much optimism where they're like, we're doing so well financially. People are achieving the American dream. Everything is so wonderful. There's so many like there's like a very like big push of like commercialism. Like it's like an era of like incredible like poptimism. Like the jocks are on top. Like all of these things. It's similar in France. It was a very successful time. However, with that success, like a lot of it is very illusionary. You have this kind of, I guess backlash is the word, but I think it's kind of just like this facing of reality that like things are not that great, and there's kind of a undercurrent violence that is kind of upholding all of those values. France, of course, is like a very big colonial power, and in this period, you kind of see another wave of reckoning with what they did in Algiers. They have a lot more immigrants. There's a lot of anxiety that is kind of like undercutting all of that. And for me, this movie is, in a way, kind of mining that and what it feels to be so alienated in a human body in that period in France. I don't think it's like an accident, for example, that the serial killer is following like the Tour de France. I think that's like a very emblematic, like nationalistic thing. I think it's like a shorthand for these kind of like questioning of national sentiment. And I think like the darkness of the movie too. It's like, what does it feel to live to experience the world uh, in a body when you don't connect with it? I don't think that it's meant to be necessarily like, I feel like Gaspar Noé would be like another step where it's like where Gaspar Noé is almost like reveling in that outsiderness. I think this movie is like, oh, there's like a lot of darkness at that heart that is not good. And his confrontation, for example, with the woman who he decides not to kill, I think is kind of, is there a way out of that darkness through kindness or whatever? But it's obviously, I don't think that's the conclusion that Philippe Canzieu emerges with. But I think there's like a lot of room to understand or try to question like what created this environment, what created this person, and is there a way out? And I think there was, again, in France, they're a bit more pessimistic than Americans. A lot of the time, they're like, no, I guess we're kind of like doomed.
I think that would make sense too, because I was thinking of Gaspar Noé and whether or not I was going to ask you on this episode if you would pair this with one of Gaspar Noé's films and which one. Um, and the context of where France is at is really important. I think it's very much a French film in terms of the way that they use the art to do a lot of commentary. Um, but I kind of want to ask you both because, you know, when you watch something like this, you kind of want to go down the rabbit hole a little bit in terms of what people are saying. And there are people sometimes there are like two camps almost of people who really appreciate it on a particular level and other people who are like, this is just pretentious and I don't know what this is about. So, and there are folks who appreciate the film, but in a way, I read something, I'll put it in the chat after about kind of romanticizing it a little bit of like this Beauty and the Beast kind of take of the relationship with the killer and the woman that he doesn't kill. And I kind of want to hear if you think about it in that sense, or either of you even consider that.
I mean, I do think there is room for criticism of this film, just as I think there's room for criticism for a lot of French cinema. I do think in particular there is like a lot of romanticizing of femininity and womanhood as a kind of savior. And the movie, like this is the issue with most horror films. It's just this one feels very real in a lot of ways, so I think it's a bit more upsetting. It's like, can you make a critique of a violent society without also exploiting it? Can you make a critique of misogyny without depicting it in a way that exploits it as well? I think that there's definitely room in that sense of like trying to deconstruct if the movie's effective in what it's trying to do, because I wonder, it's like if I was like a very like outcasted, disillusioned, I don't know, like white man in mid 90s, and I watched this movie, would I question my choices? Would I question my outsidership? Or would it affirm it in a way that maybe would be like, I don't want to say like, oh, cinema is dangerous or all these things, but um I guess that like I do have that question, but then I also have the question of like, is this film to me is like about, again, it's like what I connect to it is like the experience of like living in a world, living in a body, like it's very material. I think this is like I haven't seen all of the director's movies, Philippe Candieu. This is like one of his more conventional ones. He has a lot of like outright experimental movies. I think it's like, again, it's like that problem of like trying to apply a classical narrative, not that this is one, to those types of ideas. I think you just can't help but like fall into this trap, because I do think, yeah, I think there's like room to hate this movie. I understand why some people do. Um, I think that like there's a lot there that is like iffy if you don't want, if you want to kind of go into it. But I do overall, I obviously like the movie. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say like I think on Rotten Tomatoes this is like 67%, or if I'm not mistaken.
Not a lot of reviews either, though.
Yeah, and that's the thing. Like, like I do fall into your depiction of a man in that was born in and I was alive in 1998. And yeah, like I found this sometimes like hard to watch, but also like just trying to wrap my head around it too. But also like the way everything is presented, right? Like, because I think his use of light and like dark is extremely, like, to me, well done, because like some of these scenes are like most of the like the kill scenes, it's before that, it's him kind of like having sex or trying to have sex with these women, and it's so dark that like they're the way they're like grunting and mourning. I think because I think what in French, if I'm not mistaken, like the orgasm's the petite death, right? And that's kind of like what you're experiencing with each one of these women, where sometimes it seems like there is some pleasure there, then all of a sudden you're realizing it's this guy like jamming his hand down their throat and yanking them because of the way the light was done, that I didn't really realize, like, holy shit, I'm actually watching the kill scene right now. But if this is like his more conventional film, like, fuck, I don't even want to know what he's doing. Like, yeah, I don't even want to know what else he's doing, because I was like, this does not seem like a conventional film. Like,
We're not taking you to the Cinematheque.
yeah, like I do hope Chris gets to watch this, because I think this is like way up his alley, right? Like he would be like all French noir and like German expressionism and just throw other words that like make it seem like um that I don't even have in my vocabulary. But yeah, like I don't know, like even now, like after like being a couple days from watching it, like this fucking movie haunts me. Like I'm like I don't know how to take it, and I can see why so many people are on the fence with it, because it does like kind of stay with you. Like even like the choices made at the end, I'm like, why the fuck is she going back? I'm like, why is she going back? Guys, explain to me,
Yeah.
why is she going back?
I don't think I have an answer, but I mean, I think that's also part of that. And I think that's part of what some of these films that are made in other parts of the world do for us, in that it leaves us with these questions, and there's no happy resolution. Things aren't, sex isn't hot and like, pretty to look at in this case. It's very violent and kind of takes away that eroticism for me, at least in this movie. So I'm okay with being conflicted, because I think that's kind of part of Justine's point of how this person is feeling in their sense of self, or maybe I don't know. Do you think he has a sense of self? I don't, Justine, our Jean, our killer guy.
I don't necessarily think he has a sense of self. I think it's again like it can be depends how like literal or not we want to read it. I think he's a very vacant character. He's like almost acting impulsively in terms of like there's like an animalisticness to it. Um, I do think it is very interesting what both of you are talking about, like the relationship between sex and death. I think it's like this era of like French filmmaking, French people in general are like very inspired by like the figures of like Georges Bataille, who had a lot of writing about eroticism and the relationship between sex and death. For Bataille in particular, which I do think that um, Grandier is evoking, is this idea of like they see life as like a continuation. It's like you're kind of like life is normal, and then there's two things that interrupt it. It's sex and death, so that they're kind of connected. They're disruptions. They're also both like in this kind of modernist speak, they're like this alienation from eroticism, this alienation from sex and death, which they saw in the modern world, despite like this, there's a lot of violence, there's a lot of sex, but it's like kind of mediated, like you're seeing it through a TV screen or it's commodified, you're seeing it through increases in pornography. It means that we're kind of half living in a way because we're not facing the reality of like our physical bodies, we're not facing the realities of death. and how do we come to terms with it? And again, I do think like France and the United States are very similar in the sense of like these are two cultures that are founded on violence, they're founded on revolution. And I think the French, in a much more overt way, at least on a philosophical or artistic sense, try to grapple with what that means. Like, what does it mean to live in a society where your entire identity is founded in violence, right? It was a violent revolution that created the French Republic. It was a violent revolution that created the American Republic. And then you can kind of like grapple with all of the other layers of that, like colonialism, genocide. How do you create that society that is supposed to be free? Because the French society was supposed to be free, but you had so much inequality. You had so much, again, continued violence. I think that it's a film that's like talking about that, this kind of like alienation that emerges from that realization in a way. And I think this like a movie like this is like confronting. Is like this is the world that we live in. There's a lot of terrible violence that we don't want to face. And there is, I think, a very purposeful like he's mixing that line between like the screams of pleasure and pain. I also think it's like the opening sequence, which I think is so wonderful with the kids screaming. It's like unsettling, but it's also like
Yeah.
kind of sweet in a strange way.
I find it more terrifying at first because I didn't know where it was gonna go.
I agree. I was like, at first I was like, but some of these kids, you could tell they're kind of having fun because they would scream and then they'd be like, you can see them look at the camera and smile, and then they're like, I'm gonna do it again. But yeah,
Yeah.
like, go ahead.
Oh, sorry. Did you want to finish your thought?
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was just thinking I didn't finish this watching this interview, but the filmmaker had a Q&A somewhere. I'll put it in the links for you, Scott, and to refer to as well. And I learned that he basically had almost no budget and he had total complete freedom. So in a way, it's almost like I think he had to use whatever was available to him, light, no light. And it would be interesting to kind of hear more about that in terms of I'm always somebody who wants to know what the director talks to their actors about when they're trying to make these kinds of films, right? And what they're because it's a lot of physicality in the acting that has to take place. But it makes sense that the film looks and feels the way it is because he also wanted to make a film where there was no producers and nobody telling him what to do. So, and is this his first film too that you know, Justine, or is it his second film?
I have an idea that it's his first feature at least, but I'm not 100% sure, and I could check. I find it interesting just quickly like glancing though. He made a lot of short films. I think it's his first feature though. That a lot of the cast and crew are women. Like the official producer is Catherine Jacques. The cinematographer is Sabine Lancelin. Um, One of the co-writers is Sophie Fillière. So again, like comparing to like someone like Gaspar Noé, which is like
Mhm.
to me like very bro cinema. It's like there
Yes.
is a fascinating aspect to the fact that like there's a lot of women behind the scenes who are in very key roles. To me, it's like this movie also belongs in many ways to the DOP. I don't think
Yeah.
that many cinematographers would be one willing to shoot a movie like that because it is like you're not supposed to do that. There's reasons. It's not.
Yeah.
I believe like I could be wrong, but she's at least using or like playing with like the day for night effect, but like
Mhm.
in situations that it doesn't. It works in the context of this movie, but is like wrong.
Right.
And she's very like she's worked with like Chantal Ackerman, Manuel de Oliveira.
Mhm.
I think it's like she's also coming from like a pedigree of like this like art cinema landscape. I think that it was like very purposeful to work with her.
Mhm. Yeah, it seems like he worked with friends, people that he would probably trust, and I guess vice versa too, right?
Yeah, I'm sure.
Yeah, so I feel like to Scott's point, it's gonna keep like coming back to us in some way because we're gonna be thinking it's kind of like the layers of what you can get out of this film. So it's not a straightforward trope of a serial killer and the actions that they take. There's more to it.
Yeah, I'll agree. Like when I read the synopsis of the film, I just thought it was going to be like him like stalking this lady, and but then I'm like, they're like friends for majority of this movie, and I'm like, okay, this is not what I was expecting. But so, do you guys recommend this film? Don't recommend this film? Come on, hit me up. Whoever
I
wants to
do.
go first.
I recommend it. I just think like know what you're getting into, but it is like quite it can be quite upsetting. It is not a conventional horror film, but it is definitely horrific. I think it's like a movie that has like an incredible lingering dread. If you like other movies like the new French extremity movement, like Tremble Every Day, early Gaspar Noé, Martyrs, you would probably be interested, but I would say this one is even more experimental than those. So have that in mind.
Yeah, I would agree. Like I was saying earlier, I'm like, I'm not sure I'm the audience for it now, but I have seen some of the films like, and Martyrs is one that I also like, but I know that I remember seeing that for the first time with a friend, and that friend still says this is not a movie that I should have seen. So it's more about if you recommend it, maybe think about who you're recommending it to and sort of what their threshold, even for violence, right? Because even if you don't see it, you're hearing it. So I have friends that kind of ask, is this like a me film or should I skip it? So I kind of just take that into account before I say go on. But if you are kind of up for a challenge and kind of feel comfortable with those types of films, I would say yeah, definitely watch it. But
It
remember,
is.
it's almost 2 hours long. So
Yeah, it is. It is hard to find too. Like I thought this was 100% going to be like a Tubi movie. It is not on Tubi. But yeah, it was like a YouTube version that was. I was like, fuck. Well, why do people not want to watch this movie? Of like, but like, I'm surprised because it is. Yeah, like I would think it would be more like I was expecting like CBC Gem or something like that too, like to like just promote the shit out of this. And I'm like, nope.
I find that we don't have access to a lot of this French cinema though, right? And maybe, I don't know, in Quebec it might be different, Justine. I don't know, or it's just in general, some of these filmmakers, maybe the catalog is not something that certain chains or streamers would choose, right? Because they're very experimental.
Yeah, I don't know if it's better in Quebec. I do think it's like the only thing we have here is like I do know there's like I think we can watch it without subtitles, so it's like some of the YouTube ones it's easier because you don't have to use the automatic translation. But the automatic translation not that bad.
No, it's not
Uh,
bad.
and in a movie like this, it's not like there's a huge amount of talking. There's a few really key scenes where I think that the dialogue or the monologues are very fascinating and very integral to like the understanding of the film. But at the same time, I'm a big YouTube. YouTube is the new Tubi. Tubi is the new YouTube. There's a lot of great movies. Whenever I can't find something, I now look on YouTube, and there's like a 50% chance it'll be there.
Yeah, I would say for some international stuff, definitely. I would say those two are pretty decent. Plex sometimes is a bit of a third option if you want to stream something. Um, but I think, Justine, I did want to ask if you were pairing this with a early Gaspar Noé, which one would you pick?
Oh, that's rough. I don't know. It's like I would say irreversible, which would be like the most miserable time of your life. Like you're like, I don't know which one. I would almost watch Irreversible first, then this
Right.
one. But I do think in a lot of ways, like as a counterpoint, like I Stand Alone would be quite similar too. Actually a lot of the guest stars, like a bit later, but like Enter the Void, which I hate. I really don't like Enter the
Yeah,
Void.
that's not my favorite either, but yes.
But I kind of see like how they would connect as like a double feature.
Okay. Because I was sitting and I thought it was weird because I was thinking maybe Irreversible would be the one to watch, but then content warning for folks, there's sexual violence depicted on screen. So this one is more of like the sound of sexual violence, whereas the Gaspar Noé films are a little bit more in your face. That would be my note.
Thank you guys so much. Unless there's anything else you guys want to say. I'm gonna like drink lots of
Well,
coffee and go to church and pray and hopefully like wash this away from me.
well, you didn't say if you would recommend it though, Scott, before
That's the thing. Like,
before we let you go.
yeah, like I was saying before, like I'm still fucking like struggling with this film. Like, I don't like, and in terms of, I don't know anybody like I would recommend it. Like most of like the people I talk to are all like, they're not into the experimental, right? They're into like, but I think Chris would fucking love this movie. This would probably be in his top 10 coming after, and he'll probably dress up like Jean for Halloween. Right? Like,
again, let's not romanticize these archetypes.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, right? But like, I know it's not like French, but would you pair this with like American Psycho, like the Christian Bale? Because it's like almost polar opposites, where like Jean's like in the shadows kind of thing, and his like, because he doesn't say much either. It just seems like his magnetism is what attracts his victims to him. And then you have like Patrick Bateman by Bale, who's just like all machismo and bro, kind of doing the same thing.
I think it's actually really interesting because I think that they're kind of attacking the same thing, just very differently. I think this movie is kind of in a very French roundabout way, lambasting that consumer capitalist culture that is also being parodied in American Psycho. They're obviously very different in a lot of ways, but I think it would be an interesting, probably a less unpleasant, because American Psycho is at least quite funny, even though it is also very upsetting. But it's I think would be maybe like a softer double feature.
Yeah, you start with this one and then end with Psycho.
Yeah, exactly. And with American Psycho, but it's still commenting on society of each place that it's set in.
All right. Hey, I did something good. Chris is going to be happy. No, thank you guys so much for joining me and helping me out on this. I really appreciate it. And again, Heidi, where can they find you?
Oh, right. So you can find me on the socials at HYEMUSINGS and my website, highmusings.ca.
Justine, same question.
Yeah, the easiest way to find me is on social media at Red Room Rantings, and if you check into Cult Montreal, the screen section, you'll usually find my writing.
Perfect. Thank you guys again.
And that is our wrap for the day. Please like and subscribe to this podcast. Tell your friends. If you want to get a hold of us, reach us at the www.howdyoulikethatmovie.com.
The shit out of this guy. And then when he tied the other sister up and she just stood there, and I'm like, the club scene, I don't even want to get into that fucking club scene. Because I'm like, I'm in danger. Okay, you're dangerous. Let's go to a party. Like, what the fuck is going on?
Yeah, I feel like it's always a different thing when you watch films from other countries, and then you kind of get immersed into that culture in a way that I also felt as an outsider, right? Because I know France from a very different point of view, like a tourist or just consuming art. So very different for sure.
Oh, there was a lot of consuming here.
Indeed.
Production by Rod Shaver, Vader Monkey Productions.